I don't know if you can hear me, but I just yelled really loud because Sasha laid down on one of the baby's heads, and I had to jump up and move them very quickly because that was terrifying. I swear to God, man, they are so small compared to her, and I really worry that's how two of them died, was just being crushed by her. Oh my God! Now she's looking at me. You can see her looking at me like, But you know what? I'm so glad I've got this camera. I didn't have the mic down, I think, when I yelled. Woulda that would've been scary. Although I don't think anyone was in here at the time. It looked like everyone was gone for a couple minutes or something, or it didn't update. I don't know. Did you get disconnected or leave for a couple minutes? It'll be Yeah, it'll be in the actual video. Oh my god. But I don't think you'll hear me, but you'll see her lay down on the cat, and then you'll see me rush over and pick the babies up and just kinda move them gently for her in front of her at her side. Jesus. I swear every time that happens, I age like 5 years. I got, Chinese food for dinner, and, I got General Tso's orange chicken for the first time in a long time. It's like Chinese food is like candy for Chinese food. Like, it's okay, but I don't think I'm a big fan of it. Oh my god, when she laid down on the cat's head and you just see his head getting squished, it's like it's like right out of, a horror movie. I'm thinking she's not doing this on purpose. She has a strong maternal instinct, but it's also important to remember that she is young, and so she has some blind spots, like we all do. Hi. So, sometimes you just have to intervene a little bit, but not you don't wanna overdo it. Because I want her, because she loves me and she trusts me, but you don't wanna bug her too much. You wanna give her the you wanna help her to be in tune with her babies so that she's a little irritated right now, I think. I think mostly it's not me. It's the fact that she's irritated by Luna. She's not a big fan of Luna. I think she's a little scared of Luna, so she feels like she has to attack first. But I'm working on, I mean, God, there's so much going on, you know? There's just so much going on. It's I did get some good news about my taxes. I filed my taxes yeah, Luna the human tuna. She's actually right behind the camera right now on the chairs. I did find out I got $1,000 federal refund and $1,000 Ohio refund. So I actually got a $2,000 refund. which should deposit it pretty soon, actually. I think it's fast. You get it within like 2 weeks. So, and I really needed that because my loan amendment didn't go through. So, apparently my mom had an IRA with money for each of her children, which can be handled outside of the estate, but Douglas and the families are dealing with everything else right now, the memorial, and the burial, and all this, that, and the other. So it could be a while before I see the money from the IRA, which I'm gonna use to pay off my home loan and my credit cards. I think I'm just gonna pay everything off, or at least most of it, so I'm not stressing, you know? That's the main thing. Like, what would I have to pay off to where I don't feel like I'm living month to month, which I have felt the last, like, 6 months to a year. So, that'll really help. So there's that. That's been on my mind. My mom dying has been on my mind. Yeah, I think I can pay everything off because apparently there was, like, $48,000 in the IRA for each child. So if you take what I owe about $11,000 on my home loan with my Capital One credit cards and my PayPal, Klarna, Affirm, and shit like that. It comes out to about $25,000 that I owe total. So I'll be able to pay it all off with some left over, even with penalties by if we get an earlier withdrawal on the amount. Because apparently, early withdrawal is only like 10%, so that's not a huge deal. Although I'm not exactly sure when it would be not too early. I should ask my brother. Well, not right away, but after the memorial and stuff, I'll ask him. It's funny, that little nook in the bookcase right there, next to the little wicker box on the right under the alien head, that little space, you'll see Snowball come into frame constantly and just sit and lay right there. It kinda adds another little level, a layer to the, live video. Did you see Snowball come into frame at all? He came in early, but you might not have been here at the time. Hey, have you ever heard of a guy named Urbex Hill? He's a guy in, Cleveland who does exploring, nighttime exploring of abandoned buildings and stuff. Oh, okay. Yeah, Snowball is such a sweetie. Like, the last time I went on a walk, he came with me, and at one point, like, he stopped on a lawn and just sat there, not moving, and usually if I get a little bit far ahead, he'll feel that and come running, but he wasn't moving for a reason, so I went, "Uh-oh, he's probably." What happens with cats is that if they see another cat, they feel like they have to stand their ground, so they will sit there and not move. But if they're afraid, they will be looking away. They won't be looking at the cat. And that's what Snowball was doing. So I knew what was going on right away. And when I got up there, I had my little flashlight and I see the cat underneath the car. So I ended up picking him up and just carrying him a little bit away down the street. And every time we got to the main street, like we go a lap around the block, which takes us up to Madison. But then he'd freak out because of the cars and not want to go. So we'd end up having to backtrack all the way back around. The first night, I actually picked him up and carried him, and every time a car went by, I would turn around so he couldn't see it, and he would hide his head in my shoulder. It was so cute. But last night, he just wasn't having it. So we just walked back the other way, which of course is then how we ran into that cat. It looked like a sweet cat. It looked actually like Jupiter. And yeah, it was cool. I love having like Snowball like going on a walk with me. But it's a little bit more stressful because he starts panting and getting tired, then we gotta stop and hang out. So but I'm not really in a hurry, so fine, we'll hang out and we'll play a little bit in the grass and stuff and watch the bunny rabbits, it's all fine. But it changes the dynamic of the walk so much because then I gotta be paying attention to him, and, so it's very different. It's nice, I feel like I learned about him and I learned about myself, but, he can't be out as long because he's running around, he's tiring himself out, it's hot. So I ended up taking him home and then going on the rest of my walk by myself. Um, but it's kind of nice. Maybe that's what I'll do from now on is I'll have him come with me for like the first half of the walk, bring him home, and then go out for the second half. And that'll add kind of a new dynamic to my videos too, which is kinda nice actually, because then you're not just looking down the street with me. You'll actually see me looking at him, turning around, we're interacting, and I think that makes it maybe a little bit more entertaining. Although I do get into my deeper thoughts and stuff when I'm by myself. How did you find out about the over kitten when you woke up in the morning? Wait, wait, what? How did you found out about the over kitten when when you woke up what do you mean? Which kitten? How did you find out about the other kitten when you woke up in the morning? Which kit what do you mean? How did I find out about what kitten? Oh, you mean the other 4? The 4 that passed? I have those videos online actually when I was on my bike ride and, it was beautiful. It was such a nice night for a bike ride. And, I came home and I looked under the bed and Sasha was under there with her babies. She'd given birth while I was on my bike ride. And I was like, oh my god, she had her babies." Um, then the next morning, I looked, one of them, a white and gray one, was pushed away from her and was dead. And, it looked like it was squished or something. Um, then, there was another little tiny one that was really smaller than all the others that was dark gray. She was pushing him away. And I took him and I tried to give him watered down Pedialyte, stuff like that, out of a little syringe. And He didn't make it. Then I noticed, that, there were the 3 dark kittens were knotted together by the umbilical cord, probably in the womb, and their legs 2 of their legs were caught up in the umbilical cord, probably in the womb, didn't develop their legs, and, they were deformed from that. I was able to take a scissors and snip the cord to separate the 3, but those 2 wound the 2 with the mangled feet ended up not making it. That leaves us with the dark gray one and the white one that we see now. And what I noticed is, what really sucked is one would be dead, I'd bury it in the backyard, then another would die, I'd have to dig it up, the box, add another cat, and I had to do that 4 times. And then, it was really traumatizing and heartbreaking. And then and then I moved, and then she wanted to move her cats because it was kind of hot in the bedroom. So I realized how much she wanted me to be around. She definitely felt more comfortable when I was around. So I moved her into the family room, but she still wasn't comfortable in the nursery that was open. So I created like that little kitty condo box for her. So she was in the box and the nursery was further out. It got kind of hot in the box, even though I had the swamp cooler fan pointed at it. So she wanted to move them again. So I cleaned up the area. I put a new pee pad down. I took the flaps off the box, slid the nursery into the box to make them a little bit more condensed and a little more of a cave. That's more open, but also private, with a swamp cooler on it so that so she can really feel more comfortable. And she has not tried to move them since, but she'll often lay down on her freaking babies, and I have to or lie backward and one's behind her. And so I'm constantly I literally did not sleep for like 3 days because I would lay next to her, close my eyes, and then I would look up and I'd have to constantly be moving these babies. And when you do that, it's so stressful. It really amps up your adrenaline. And so you're just not tired. So I couldn't go to sleep. Um, and then, yeah, so then I thought, okay, I need to like figure this out. Because it was driving me crazy. And I was, taking care of myself by not just working, but by cleaning the house and simplifying, giving things away to my local buy nothing group and that type of thing. I think I'm good at finding ways to self-regulate my physical body and my attitude and my sense of gratitude and being, what I believe, being connected and listening to God in my life. And I just am looking for simple ways that I can be there for her while also taking care of myself. And that's why I went, oh, well, I should just set the webcam up as a live stream. And that way, if I'm at my desk right here, because I'm right next to the couch, my desk is right here in the front room, and then I can just watch. But man, those mornings when the babies, like, because she had a jumble of cats, it was so many, and she was so small. It was probably too many babies for her body. Um, but every time you would lose one, you would always think, "What can I do better? How can I help her?" Because she's stepping on these cats. She's she's got a maternal instinct, but it's not perfect. And then then they were knotted together. It was harrowing experience. You know, so I'm just really doing everything I can to make sure that these 2 babies survive, because you could tell she loves them very much, she's very maternal, but she's also very young, And so she's not perfect as a mother, just like any mother, you know. But she doesn't realize what she's doing sometimes. What's nice though is that when I come in and assist and move her or move slightly to move the baby or anything like that, she doesn't attack me. She doesn't get really angry. She doesn't bite. She trusts me. And I move him slightly, supporting his head and neck, and I move the baby closer to her, and she just relaxes and she understands what I'm doing almost. Like it's like we're a team, you know? And it's been that way since the beginning when she first showed up and she was looking for a forever home for to raise her babies or to have her babies. And for some reason, she showed up on the very day that was going to be Jupiter's 20th birthday. So, there's something kind of interesting about that coincidence, you know? So at first, she really did. And sometimes fr what happens is that I left the back hallway that leads to the bedroom. I keep that closed now because I don't want her to carry the babies back there. It's kind of an out of sight, out of mind thing because if she goes back in that hallway, you can feel it. She goes back slowly, she's looking around, she's trying to find her other babies, and, it's like a haunting. You feel haunted. You feel she is feeling haunted. Like, it's 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 really, a heartbreaking, disturbing energy. So, I keep that close so she doesn't have to relive that, um because when the baby would die, she wouldn't understand, and she'd see it, and she would instantly want her baby and cry out, and I'd give it to her, and she'd bring it underneath the bed, and then she would sense something's wrong, and she'd push it away, so I had to take it away, and, so it's like this weird she instinctively understands, but she doesn't consciously understand because she's too young, um, and maybe that's something I don't know if she'll ever understand. As a cat, I don't know, you know? But, yeah, it's she does notice that the cats are not there. But it's interesting how when you just keep her with her babies, she just attends to her babies. She's not here looking for her other babies, right? But if she goes in the hallway, she will click into that and start looking for them. Like, it'll bring it up inside of her somehow, you know? Like, she knows on some level she had more babies than this. So, what is that little baby doing? What is he doing? What the heck is going on? Hold on, let me check on them. Hi, everybody okay over here? See, you can see how she is with me. Like, she really trusts me and she wants my help. Oh, you want some treats? I think she wants some treats. Oops. Yeah, let's give her some treats. Where are the treats? Uh, she's been enjoying a lot of treats lately. But you know what? You give her whatever the heck she'll eat. Like she's got to keep her strength up. So I've thrown out so much cat food this week because I give her the kitten food. I sprinkle it with salmon. I put the Halos treats on top. I give her the gravy from the Friskies. Her appetite keeps playing musical chairs with me. So so a lot of the food just ends up going to waste. Which actually I have to buy more that's so expensive too when you're feeding when that's happening. It's expensive. Where is the treat container now? Hmm. So like right now, Sasha's in the kitchen and she's trying to she looks like she's looking to get into the hallway, um, which is closed off both of the doors because there's a door in the kitchen, there's a door in the dining room. Um, so hi, what do you need, sweetie? Where is the treat container? I don't even know where it is right now. So I have wet food for her, and nobody's eating it. Sasha's not eating it. Snowball's not eating it. You want some food? Luna's like, no. How about you? You want some of this? No. Sasha, come here. You're gonna freak out Luna. Okay. Yeah, they don't want this food. I don't know what the heck she's hung. I think sometimes she just wants some treats. Like she just had. I think her. It's like when you're pregnant and your appetite gets all weird. I think that's happening with her because sometimes, you know what I mean. I wouldn't doubt it. Like, why wouldn't that happen to a cat? I'm sure their hormones are getting all weird. Hi. They're going through changes. Okay. Okay, so both cats, Sasha and Snowball, are here. So if you don't know what they want to eat, the safest bet actually is just to give them the Friskies, or the savory delights, just something simple like that. But they won't eat a lot, so you don't want to put too much. Not even a half a can. Like the vet's like, "Oh yeah, feed them a whole can." Like they're not going to eat a whole can in one sitting. It's just not. They're not going to do it. It goes to waste. So what I do is I put like just a third, not even a third, like a quarter of a can of the savory, and then a quarter of a can of the Friskies for each of them for Snowball and Sasha. Okay, come here. And then they have the stainless steel water fountain. Come here. Okay, so they're eating that. Okay, good. Yeah, maybe that's the mixture. A quarter can of the Friskies with a quarter can of the Savory Delight. Not the healthiest foods, but the healthiest stuff is the feline naturals, which are like 80. Oh, here's the treats that are like, no, their eyes are not open yet. Their eyes don't open for like, it's what's weird is that if you Google it, it says anywhere from 2 days to 2 weeks. So apparently it kind of can happen anytime. But but no, their eyes are not open yet. as you can see, they could barely walk around. Like, they're probably growing so fast that it's taking up all their energy, which is why they're just tired all the time. So I'm being super hyper vigilant until I feel like they're strong enough to where they're not gonna possibly die from her mom laying on them, you know? So I'm just, so I basically I had a doctor's appointment and I had to postpone it. And I did blood work. So you can't postpone too long beyond the time that you did the blood work. So, but they postponed it till July 30th is like the very last I could do it. Otherwise, I'd have to get blood work again or something, and it might be out of pocket if I had to do it again. So, so July 30th should be a safe bet on going on the appointment. See, like right where they are right now, way in the back like that. Now, when Sasha comes up, depending on how she lays down, she's either going to come to the right and wrap around them, which might either push one of the babies behind her or she'll lay like right on top of them. So that's the type of thing I have to really watch out for. And so I can't go do stuff because I'm so worried about like that happening because two have already died from what I believe is being squished. And can't let anything else happen to these little guys. So hopefully these two are okay. They're gonna make it. As you might have seen, Sasha just went behind the couch. That's because I have a litter box in that corner. So it says there's three people in here. Who all is in here? Yes, I'm gonna keep them. See, when there were six, I was gonna see how she is around them. And at first, Valerie, my sister Valerie, and Joyce were gonna take two kittens. But I think because of Joyce's health issues, they decided not to take any of the kittens. And so I was like, I don't think I could keep all six. But now that we're down to two, and I've always wanted to be able to keep a mother with her babies because I just I feel like cats get weaned too early. They don't get to really create a family together. And I brought her into this home with the sort of this understanding that I was opening my home to her and her family. So as long as she wants her babies around, she can have them. So so yeah, the plan is to keep them both. Okay, I'm getting up now just so I can attend to how she lays down right now. Let's just pay attention here. Look at the way that little baby's looking up at her. It's so cute. Okay. Whoa, careful. Good, good. Perfect, perfect. Good mama. Okay, that was good. That was good. See, like, how she did that was good. She moved them with her body in front of her. That's what you wanna see. Yeah, she's getting better. Okay, it looks like Snowball wants to go outside. One second, let me open the window. Ugh. Okay, come on. There you go. So you gotta be careful about when that little kitten there on her left, if its head goes back and then she goes forward, it could lock him against that corner there in that wall, which could be hard on his Alright, I don't know if you can hear me now. I think my headset died. Can you still hear me? Testing, testing. You can? Okay, my headset turned off all of a sudden. It could be low. Let me, plug it in. It's probably low on battery at this point. Plug it in. Thankfully, I got some. Originally, I was going to when I thought that the babies and the mom was gonna be in the bedroom, I bought a 50 or 65-foot USB cable so I could plug my webcam into my laptop in the family room, going all the way back to the bedroom. And, but, no, since I moved him out here into the family room, which is a lot cooler and what? I opened the window for Snowball, and he ended up well, I mean, you can see on the camera where he is now. He ended up not going out, probably because it's hot outside. But there he is in his little bookshelf area. Hi. Well, now what are you doing? Yeah, hi. Snowball, are you ready to go on a walk or something? I'm sure he'd love to go on a walk tonight. I don't I don't I don't know if we're gonna do a walk tonight. It's so hot because since it's Thursday, I'd go to the right to the Gold Coast area, which is a beautiful area, but it's a long distance. Uh-oh, what just happened? Something just disconnected or something. Wait, what is going on? I'm hearing the USB plug-in sound. Huh. Can you still hear me? Okay, I'm guessing you could probably still hear me. That's weird. I heard the USB plug-in sound a couple times, but I didn't get a notice from Windows saying what the heck that was. It would be nice if when something plugged in, Windows actually told you, "Hey, this device has been enabled or disabled," but you don't really know what particular, device it is. Okay. But as you can see, the way she laid down was perfect. So she's getting better. I think she's also been very aware of how I've assisted and she's remembering that because she looks up when she's about to lay down. You see her kinda looking up like she's, like, remembering. I don't know, I feel like she gets it, you know, a little bit better. They're so cute. There's that sound again. I wonder, what is there a notification where it tells you what's going on? Oh, man. Hi. What are you doing? Oh, if you heard that squeak, that was Snowball. It says there's 3 people in here, but you won't know who they are until people actually say something. So there's 2 people that haven't actually said anything. If anybody's in here, can you say hi? I basically asked if people could come in just to help out, because if I oh, someone left. They didn't feel like saying hi, I guess. We wanna get as many people to watch the live to help monetize the channel so I can help out Donna and Aaron, pay off my debt and everything. So that means just getting friends to come in and just hang out. They don't even have to be watching, they could have it on in the background, you know? And then it could be a good little, dopamine hit, when they're working, they can just take a look at the camera every once in a while and see the kitties, and they can get some send their love to the cutie patootie heads. Alright, let me turn off my live chat because it's kinda late. I don't wanna be doing that anymore. Oh, man. Alright, so Snowball still wants to go outside. I'll be right back. I'm gonna let him out the front. What? Look at those cute little faces. They're so sweet. I downloaded the software for my headset, but I don't think it works, very good just because it kinda always says it's at 100% in Windows. So I don't think Windows is detecting it properly, which kinda sucks. Ah, it looks like my headset has an update. That's what's going on. But I'm not gonna update that right now because I'm live streaming and it'll probably disconnect me or something, and sometimes you can't it won't reconnect until you stop whatever you're doing and then redo it, or redo the call, which means I might have to redo the live. So I'll wait. I'm trying to limit all the lives to I think 2 hour blocks. I think is a good way to do it. So That's only like a half an hour, so we'll do that. You seen Roy at all lately? I haven't seen I haven't seen Roy around in a while. Oh, I think I could turn timestamps on. Let's do that. Let's turn timestamps on. No. Also, why is everybody's name purple? Oh, wait, what's my name color? And when I say something, oh, that's right. It highlights my name. Okay. What can I? Okay, I guess you can't change that. Yeah, so one thing I did to try to pay down my debt, I got anything that was set automated as a payment to my credit card, I took off. So nothing is automatically going to my credit card anymore. Uh, Anything I could cancel that I don't really use or that has an alternative that might take me a little learning, but will save me money, I got rid of. Oh, man, I need to start working out too. I got to start building up some strength. I haven't worked out in a while, so that's something I need to do. Those babies are so cute. Another one of my biggest worries was, are they eating enough? Are they getting enough nourishment? That baby actually looks like his eyes are opening. Did you see that? That little that guy's so cute. Kinda looks like his eyes are opening. Oh my god, look at that little guy. He's scratching his head. They're so cute. I've never had kittens before. It feels like a miracle that any of them survive because they're so vulnerable and mamas don't know what the hell they're doing. So they could be a danger to their cats just themselves. And then you got problems with umbilical cords being knotted together. Like, oh my God. It's amazing any of them survive. What is that cat doing right now? So that's, oh, jeez. That's why I'm being so hyper vigilant right now about watching. But I also need to get my work done. I got to take care of myself, you know. Jesus, they're so cute. He's like a little clone of his mom. Although I don't know if that's a boy or a girl yet. It's really too early to tell. Look at that. He's like giving her kisses. It is so adorable. Oh my god, they're just so fragile. Oh, that was interesting. It's like I think she heard my chair. My chair kinda squeaked, and then she kinda I don't know if you saw that. She looked up very quickly, but I think that was the squeak of my chair. Hey, Aaron, are you here in the live? Let's see. I love it. We got 3 people in here. That's awesome. Oh, man. Oh, that's what that's right. I needed to buy cat food. So let me do that right now. I need to get treats. I need to get more Friskies. Okay, buy it again. Okay, so add the Friskies, Savory Delights. Oh, I already have plenty of Savory Delights right now. New treats. Is that it? That might be all I need right now. Oh, how am I on litter? Um, I guess I'm okay on litter right now. Okay, let's go to the cart, see what we have in there. Ah, 2 people left. Yeah, so I'm trying to get to the point that I'm not using credit for anything, which means you have to be a lot more careful about what you buy. I suffer from what they call girl math as a guy. That's where girl math, from what I understand, is where you think if you just put everything on credit, it's not that it's free, but that it'll seem like less if you're paying it over time. but and you think, the interest, even if it's a tiny amount, is acceptable. The problem is that if you do that too much, then all of those little charges add up very quickly, and it can be sneaky. So that's, you gotta watch out for that. So I'm trying to pay all of that type of stuff off and not use those things anymore because it's so tempting for me. It's not tempting for everybody, I'm sure. But, I watched a video about that geared towards women called, like, Girl Math or something like that. I'm like, "Oh, man, that's me." I mean, look, I make sense. I grew up with a single mom and 2 older sisters. I've always kinda empathized with women more than the macho bravado type of guys. I was a musician, more of a drama nerd type of guy. Alright, let me put the Chinese food away. I mean, I'm very straight, though, but I don't know. I've just, I think a lot of, like, why I grew up that way is because my dad was, somewhat abusive growing up to my mom and to me, and so that made me I think it kinda made me more empathetic, and my mom raised us to appreciate the arts, so I grew up really, with that kind of a mindset of the arts and culture and appreciating people from around the world a little bit more. But I think that's all really good. I think that made me a better person, more thoughtful, more caring, more wanting to help and share with other people. And I like those. I like that about me. So, okay, I'm just getting something to drink. It's really hot. I was gonna make some like iced coffee or something, but I think I'm gonna stay away from caffeine. And I've been drinking plenty of water. Um, One thing also, if you're stressed, one of the simplest things to do is just wash your hands and wash your face. You know, that just totally helps. Okay. Anthony, what are you doing tonight? You been on big screen much lately? Okay. Okay. Oh, 4 months, really? Wow. Julia took a long break from big screen too. She really wanted to focus on her ministry, and I think trying to, create a good space in her home and really make an effort at her job. So she's got a lot going on herself. I've only been on big screen, like, twice in the last couple of months. I've been trying to get on more just to kinda watch something to relax. I actually streamed, the first, Fast and the Furious movie the other night, and the first movie is so good. I don't know if any of the other movies are any like, I hear the movies get more and more progressively ridiculous. But the first movie with Paul Walker, who sadly died, that's such a good movie. The writing of that movie is so good. It's, like, surprisingly good. Okay. Yeah, she actually I couldn't believe she actually blocked me. I feel like I just became a distraction for her. Like, I think she was torn between wanting to just enjoy life and not have everything be so serious, but then also go gung ho 100% on her faith. And for her, that became sort of a conflict where she didn't know how to balance the two. So she had to kind of go full 100% on one because she couldn't balance them. And so I just became a distraction. And I wanted her to move here. I got the sense that she didn't like Florida. She didn't like her job. It didn't match up or align with what she wanted to be doing with her life. And since I felt like we loved each other and I loved Lakewood and I felt such a strong spiritual connection here that she would find that here as well. And she's licensed. Yeah, and then she called. And after blocking me, and I'm dealing with all this by myself, feeling very alone, and the last thing I wanna do, like, dude, that's I feel like that's kinda not very fair. Like, the fact that she kept breaking up with me over and over again because she was uncertain of herself, I think maybe that she should have asked if she could call, not just call, because I don't think that's taking very seriously my feelings. I don't think she realized how much that hurt me, and so she's acting very casual about the whole thing, and rather than realizing, like, I have feelings in this. So I was like, I didn't have anything to say to her. And then, I think I messaged her back saying, like, you know, "I'm just not ready to be talking on the phone with you, but I hope you're doing well," and stuff. And then she just never responded to that. So, whatever. I don't know what's going on with her. I think part of the issue is that she's only been in one relationship, and it was really bad. Like, she left home into a bad relationship for, like, 30 years with this horrible human being that treated her really poorly. And then when she finally got away from that, her sister died, her dad died, she moved to another state. She bought a house when she really shouldn't have, and then she felt, like, kinda trapped there and forced to, like, do something with this now. Um And then she met me, and we really hit it off, and I really cared about her, and I loved her, and I felt like and I really started seeing a future together for us, you know? But I think maybe it was too soon for her, and she had more healing to do. Um, I don't know, maybe. I mean, because she's so I think I would honestly say she's a little bit extreme when it comes to her religion, for her Christianity. I think she's a little on the extreme side. She tends to be very, literal when it comes to the Bible, overly so, almost to the point I think she's actually more of a creationist, um, and I'm someone who is very open-minded spiritually, um, and I've had more experience with things like meditation, Christianity, Buddhism, different religions, and paths that I've studied. So I've seen a lot of beautiful things that related to, threads that kind of cross through multiple religions and faiths. Um, and because of her trauma, I think she's become very exclusionary about Christianity as the only way. Um, and I think that's what that is that I think that's the very thing that Jesus actually warned about, which is to not put the law above the spirit of the law or the word above the spirit of the word. And I think that's kind of what she's doing. And I think she's doing it because of trauma. When we are desperate and we're dealing with a lot of really difficult things and we feel like we're floundering or drowning, we tend to cling more to things that, and that's not healthy because then we lose perspective. And I think, for whatever it is, I think that's what happened. And if that's the path that she's happy with, then that's great. That's for her. But it's hard if I tend to not take the Bible literally. That doesn't mean I don't find value in it. I just don't. I think mankind wrote the Bible. I don't think God wrote the Bible. I think a lot of it's inspired by God, but there's also a lot scientifically just incorrect in the Bible because it's written by people that had a very little understanding about the universe, and that's fine. So I think I have a little bit more of a balanced perspective on the Bible. That's why it couldn't work because I consider my view balanced. I'm sure she considers her view balanced too, but hers is literal and mine is not. And how do you have a relationship with somebody with those two vastly different perspectives, right? If she's hyper literal, she needs to be with someone who's also literal, you know. And I need to be with someone that's more open-minded about just the parables and what they're trying to teach. Unfortunately, I mean, I really loved her and I really hoped that she was that person, that she'd be open to talking and discussion, because I think I'm not certain that I'm right or anything. I just feel like we always have to be open to the possibility that we're wrong about anything in life because that's how we truly go through life seeking God with our eyes open, and I think that's how we cultivate a real relationship with God, I think, is by never being certain that we're right about anything or about most things, especially when it comes to scripture and 2,000-year-old books. Anyway, that's that's why it ended up not working out. I think. I mean, that's why I think it didn't work out. There's probably other reasons why as well. Like I wanted her to move here. She didn't want to move here. Well, there you go. That's the ball game, you know. I think she had a great time every time she came here. I think she liked the neighborhood, she liked the area. I think if she spent more time here, she would fall in love with it the same way I did. Also, my sisters here were very close. Her brother's there, but they're not close. She didn't seem to be happy with her job or her house. So, I don't know, it just made perfect sense to me if she moved here. I also really enjoyed reading the Bible with her and studying and learning and growing because I believe in having a relationship with Jesus Christ. Yeah, she lived in Cincinnati, and I think that's part of it is why she doesn't like the weather, you know? But here's the thing, cold weather is a lot better than hot weather. At least in cold weather, you can put some clothing on. In extremely hot weather, it's like you can't do anything. And there's hurricanes, and it's a total red state. There's a lot, I don't think I would like living in Florida. Also, her house is like an hour away from anything, and all the things she wanted to be able to go outside of her house and just go for walks and stuff. And I'm like, that's what I do here. I totally wanted her to come here and we can go for walks together and she could see the bunny rabbits and our cats could like walk with us, and there's the Cuyahoga National Parks. There's a lot of beautiful things here. And it's right downtown is so close and there's good food, there's entertainment right a block away. You've got concerts and stuff a block away, you know. There was this cute little restaurant that I took her to a block away called Sarita. And I totally imagined that like being our restaurant. I thought that would have been really cool. But I have a very simple idea about what I wanted, I think. And I think and I respect that she wants a lot more in life, right? Like she wants to have this whole big like ministry and stuff and really connect and travel and connect with all the people all over. And I'm running a business out of my house. I'm not looking to like travel everywhere and get with giant ministries and do all this stuff. I'm I think it's good to have ambition, right? If I didn't have ambition, I wouldn't have created my business and all this. But I think she has a greater ambition, and I respect that. But I think my ambition was just too small for her. Yeah, yeah. I guess I've talked about all this stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I guess at this point, I feel like I really understand, like, what happened and why it happened and all the reasons why it was not gonna work out, unfortunately. I mean, I think if she just kinda simplified her view on and just focused on her healing and working, finding out what she wanted to do with work, and we worked on our relationship and our connection together, she could have moved here and we could have made it great. But I don't know, it seems like she's kinda got her eyes set on something else. Yeah, I mean, so because of that, I don't even know what we have to talk about. what I did the last couple walks at different times, I talk about the, um, the story of Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker and how I feel like it's a perfect retelling of Genesis, essentially, and why, um, God and humans were separated. Um, in Endwalker, the, perfect beings are with God in heaven, essentially, and but they've never known separation, so they're very ignorant and naive, and that causes the destruction of the all things, essentially. So the only way to save everything, essentially, is to sunder the heavens and the earth so that mankind has to walk to God with their eyes open to have a real relationship with God. And that's exactly what Genesis is about concerning Adam and Eve in the garden and eating from the tree of the garden of the tree of good and evil, of the knowledge of good and evil, which creates you know, mankind to die, that creates the separation of mankind from God. But then Jesus is sacrificed in order to bring his spirit connected, grafted back into the universe so that there's a bridge for mankind to walk through Jesus's teachings back to God. And that's exactly what Endwalker is about, just in different language. And I thought that it was very powerful and very meaningful, and it all made sense. I thought it was so beautifully done that it because if you think about all of that stuff from the Bible from a literal standpoint, it's hard for it to make any sense. But when you think about it as part of the actual plan, that it was all intentional, it makes perfect sense. So I quit playing Final Fantasy in 14 in 2019 after I had this really cathartic, powerful healing experience through that connection. And Julia, as a pretty devout Christian, I thought would really appreciate and enjoy that story. And she's also a gamer. So I really enjoyed I had so much fun playing that game with her. And it's a real shame that like the way this happened because then we couldn't play that together and I couldn't watch her experience that, you know? I thought that would be a healing for her as well, and I think a healing that she really needed. But maybe if you take things too literally, you're not gonna be open to that kind of healing, I don't think anyway. I don't know. But I thought if that's something that we shared together, that it could be good for her, and I enjoyed playing the game with her as well, so I miss that. I mean, I actually think Endwalker is probably the greatest, most powerful story in an MMO ever written. It's actually so phenomenal. It kinda made me wonder if anybody else playing Endwalker got what I got from it. And when I read what people talk about Endwalker, they definitely act like it's the most powerful story they've ever played of an MMO. I don't know if they relate it to the Christian storylines the way I do. That might be something that I'm just a connection I'm making. I don't know if other people are making that same connection. Um, what's going on with that baby? Let's go check a look. You guys okay? Hi. Look at that little baby's face. That is so cute. Oh my god. Your baby is so cute. Hi. Do you see that? Look at that little face. Oh my god. That is so freaking adorable. It's ridiculous. Need to screenshot that. I mean, that is just so, so cute. Aw. See, like right there. She's like leaning on his head. Careful with the head. Careful on the head. Mm. Do you want some treats? See, see, she'll do that stuff where she like rests her head on top of its head, and you're just like, "Whoa, maybe don't do that." Wait, where's my phone? How have I logged out of WhatsApp? Damn. Hi. Okay, there we go. I don't know how that happened. I mean, they're just so fragile. I mean, look how tiny they are. They're just so small. Oh my god, they're so cute. Oh, okay, we gotta watch. Careful. Every time she lays down, I'm just so careful. It's like when she rests her head on its head, she's not trying to hurt it. I truly just don't think she understands. She understands a little bit. but not entirely. And it's that little bit that can be the difference between life and death for a kitten. Here, let me move him. Let me get him for you. Here you go. Always make sure that the babies are in front. That's nothing someone told me. That's just, common sense that I'm learning as I'm going. Okay, mama thinks they're hungry, so maybe I'll move them a little bit. Hi, baby. How you doing? There you go. They're so cute. So you can see why I've been so much of a helicopter parent about these kittens. It's like terrifying the way if she lays on him, it's terrifying. I freak out. Ah, my god. Because she means well and she's trying to be a good mom. So you don't want her to lose any more babies. Oh my god, that cat is so adorable. Look at oh my god. Okay. It definitely helps having the camera on then so I can although I'm not getting a whole lot of work done, but it is 11:30, so I don't really need to focus too much on work for the rest of the night. I just have this one order I'd like to finish that I probably, if I freaking focused a little bit, I get it done in like 10 minutes. I get so distracted by everything going on. All right, I'm gonna go wash my face. I swear I might rub my eyes and everything and salts from like your fingers and sweat and it's hot. Gotta wash my face all the time. But it feels so good just to wash your hands and your face. Very refreshing. I've also been doing I got back into doing supernatural workout. That was something that I did used to do with Roy and Julia. When I lived at my old place, I would actually have to do it on the porch because there was no room in the house anywhere to do it. So that's how I learned about pass through because there's no way I'm going to do an Oculus on the porch and not be able to see what the hell's going on around me, you know. That's just asking for trouble. Oh, did I leave my glasses in the bathroom? I think so. You know, there were certain red flags along the way I probably should have listened to. Isn't that always the way? You know? Not that there was anything wrong with her, but that why it wasn't good, we weren't necessarily good for each other. Like I have a really cool Buddhist screen of like Shiva or Kuan Yin Bodhisattva who dedicated her lives to all humanity, and that always scared her because to her that was like a false god or something like that, right? And I also remember one time we were in big screen. Like I used to joke around a lot, and you want to be with someone who really gets your jokes, doesn't get offended by silly things you say. You want to be able to have the person get you, you know? And she didn't really often get my jokes. So that was kind of a sign. I remember one time I put on a video where a guy was refurbishing a really old toy, and I thought that was so beautiful because I really believe in upcycling and making less trash, but also rediscovering things from the past to make them new and give them away and stuff. And that's what he did. And I remember her response was like, "Why would anybody do that? Why wouldn't you just buy a new one?" And at first I thought she was joking, you know, but she really didn't understand it. And I was like, "Oh, wow, that's weird," you know. So to me, so there were these kind of signs, I think, of like where we were very different. Also, she would ask me all the time, constantly, if I believe that Jesus died for our sins and rose from the dead. Constantly, like that was the most important thing to her. And I'm like, that's not really a fair question to ask somebody. especially someone who didn't grow up in the church. You know, like so, like a lot of things like that were just obvious, like kind of red flags. Like, ooh, that's how do you overcome that? Like kind of. I mean, I've never. I mean, I've known so many people of different faiths that have beautiful relationships and marriages, and they learn from each other, right? Because they don't live in this idea that their way is the only way. So, if you believe your way is the only way, you're going to be disrespectful to every other type of people, even when you're not trying to be, because you're going to always make them conform to your way. And that's not exactly loving your neighbor. But again, I feel like she was overly literal and overly attached to certain ideas because of trauma. And I had more time, I think, to deal and heal from my trauma. And I lived on the street for a long time, and I got to know people of all faiths on the street, and I got to see the beauty and extraordinary like real spiritualism or real spiritual paths in Buddhism and even and I met Krishna consciousness people who were extraordinary, where like they were so in tune with God that you felt transported to this pure, beautiful land where the whole world was just alive and full of joy and gratitude. And and I think when you live purely in this very authoritarian world where like your way is the only way and you need to be afraid of every other way, that's not healthy. Also, I think if you believe that the dinosaurs were killed off by Noah's flood, you're reading some really weird shit. I mean, that's some really fringe. Most devout Christians don't believe that. Like that's really extreme because you have to then be so anti-science and like we're talking about the science that like has made so many extraordinary achievements. And the great thing about science is that it's willing to change its mind when it learns something new. Like the rigorous nature of the scientific method is to always be learning and staying humble and growing. And if you believe that dinosaurs were killed by Noah's flood, I mean, that just means you've become so ingrained in your thinking that like you've kind of just I don't know. I don't know. I think that's just extreme. I think that's extreme. I mean, that's like the core tenet of creationism, of young earth creationism. I mean, that might not seem extreme to them, but for someone like me who believes in a very a balanced path of shared humanity of with all people, and that everyone can find a path to God and that Christianity is not the only path to God, which is why I find the scripture John 14:6 very problematic because if you're too literal and you take the word over the spirit of the word, you will read that in a very literal way, and I think you will miss the forest for the trees and what it's actually saying because it's written in a way that's very literal. So I find that I find that to be rather a dangerous piece of scripture, not a good one. The thing is, a true believer, like a hardcore extremist believer, will not think that that's a dangerous scripture or verse. They'll think that that's perfect because it simplifies everything. It puts look, it's perfect. You don't have to worry. Look, it says it right here. You don't have to think about everything. Yeah, but the problem is then everybody else is wrong, right? Like cultures thousands of years older suddenly are just naive and stupid or like ignorant and like you have to look down on everybody else. And I mean, I've met too many extraordinary people from different faiths to ever think that that's true. I kind of think as Christianity a little bit like training wheels for spirituality to some extent. And the training wheels are these hardcore concepts that create attachment. And when you're young on a spiritual path, you need those anchors to give you stability. But true spirituality has no anchors like that because those are illusions. And one great thing about Buddhism is that it helps you go beyond these constructs that keep you limited in your thinking and in your development. So I think there's great things to be found in Christianity and Buddhism, but I do think it's a lot harder to be a Buddhist than it is to be a Christian because you have all these training wheels in Christianity, which I have nothing against. I think that can be very beautiful. There's a lot about Christianity that I find very meaningful and beautiful and valuable spiritually. I mean, I believe in having a relationship with Jesus Christ, you know. I believe in God. But I also did not meet Jesus or God through the Bible, you know. So I don't think the Bible is necessarily mandatory. I think it can be helpful, but I think it can also be misleading or dangerous, or it can make you, it can chain you to ideas. Oh no, it's kind of interesting. I think if someone has a really balanced spiritual view, they can utilize things from Christianity and Buddhism together in a way that benefits both. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know. I feel like I just said an awful lot. That's a lot to take in. So anyway, I will say this. I think they say you'll like Jesus said you'll know them by their fruits. If I listen to the great Buddhist teachers, I do think they express compassion and empathy and truly um, a helpful practice for humanity. But when you listen to really extreme like Christians these days, I can't say the same. I find the most loving, compassionate, and kind Christians are those with a more balanced perspective on the Bible. They don't take it so literally. I think they recognize that Jesus taught in parables, and that was sort of the way a lot of stuff was done back then, was written in parables. So, if you consider the Bible as not necessarily a historical document, in some ways it is, I'm sure, parts of it, but I would say a lot of it is not historical, but is mostly is a parable for lessons in life. For example, there's a lot of things that were allegedly said by people in the Bible that were written down decades after those people even existed, and largely by people who never met them. And even if you said something and then you wrote it down and then it got written down decades later, you're not going to get it exactly right, word for word, what that person said. So, this idea that the things that Jesus says in the Bible are exactly what he said in real life, while they were written by people so many years after his death, seems highly unlikely because people just aren't that good at keeping records of what people say. Also, nobody wrote about Jesus in his lifetime, which is very weird. Because if there was a guy going around doing what they say he did, I think people would have been writing about him at the time. It's a little weird. I think it's important to question everything. I think that was another problem for me and Julia's relationship is I tend to question a lot of things. And if you're asking people these questions who are only going to try to plug in answers from that confirm their own bias, then I don't know if that's truly seeking the truth. It's just trying to confirm your own bias. If everything, because if you never really question what you believe, but you believe in questions, but then you look for the answers where you want to find them, you're gonna just kind of you're just gonna confirm your bias. One thing I do find really interesting, I talk about this a lot in my videos, is how when I go out my door, right, there's the Catholic church right across the street from my house, and I love the bells and everything. Now the parking lot, my window faces the parking lot in between the rectory and the worship hall, and the sunset comes right between the two and fills up that whole section. It's so beautiful. But when I look at that rectory, there's a certain spirit there that I feel. Um, it's like when I prayed that Jupiter would become healthy, and the bells started playing, and I felt them connect with my prayer, and then Jupiter lived 15 more months. And to me, so I have faith, and I do believe in God, and I do believe in Jesus, but I don't necessarily believe in the Bible. I guess that's probably the best way I could put it. I think there's a lot of good stuff in the Bible. I think there's so much, and I think you could learn from reading anything in it, because if you believe in God, it's going to put you in that space to connect with God. And I think that's good. But I think then you got to be careful about what stuff in the Bible you feel is not necessarily healthy. Like, I don't believe in proselytizing, trying to get everybody to think the same way you do. Um, Again, I think John 14:6 is taken too literally. it gets the order of creation of solar systems wrong in Genesis because it was written by mankind 2,000 years ago who didn't understand science at all as far as how solar systems are formed. Anyway, I don't know. I find I love talking about stuff like this. Um, I don't have a lot of people to talk to about it these days. I think oftentimes you find people that are either unbelievers or total believers, which is like two extremes. So you never really find people. I don't find a lot of people like myself who believe, but in a more balanced way. I don't know. What do you think, Anthony? You have any thoughts on any of this? Guess not.